been helping out a friend of mine, Carl Whiteley, and he's been making a little short film, a little comedy short about Star Wars. And one of the things he'd asked me to do was to come up with the Emperor makeup. Now, obviously, with something like an Emperor makeup, it's not just a little bit of paintwork. You've got to go through the whole procedure of sculpting and making all the appliances. So the first thing I said to Carl was, if you don't have much money, how can I help you in a kind of cost-effective way? So the first thing we said was, who's the actor going to be? So he got an actor called Bruce Jones, who used to be in Coronation Street as Les Battersby, and which was great. But obviously we couldn't get we couldn't get Bruce in for a live cast. So I just kind of found a head that I could sculpt onto. Obviously, bearing in mind also that I'm trying to make a character that looks like this. So this is from the last of the Star Wars films, which was Revenge of the Sith. Obviously, just because the photos we found, there's another photo there, are kind of better quality photos than from the original film, Return of the Jedi. So I used that as a basis. So I thought, the main things when you look at this, obviously with the robe, is kind of the forehead and the cheeks. So I kind of thought, well, I can sculpt that, make all those pieces, and then the rest around the face I can actually kind of make as very simple latex appliances. So the first thing I did, obviously I got a generic face, and generic faces are just heads I have around the workshop. So this was just someone we had kicking around. Obviously, I didn't know how old Bruce Jones was, so I just thought we'll get a normal male head, and I kind of sculpted the face. So I had a forehead and cheeks piece in an oil-based clay, and kind of for speed as well. I kind of made a mold in plaster. Usually, you make molds in silicones and stuff like that, but I kind of knew what the job was for. And also, the idea was that when you see the Emperor, he's only ever in a hologram, so we always knew that the quality would be downgraded. So I'd sculpted this makeup and I produced it in a material called gelatin. So this is this has already been stuck on Bruce and it's been removed. So if I just kind of hold it there, you can kind of see what I did. And there was a little cheek piece, but that's actually been destroyed, removing the makeup. But gelatin's been used for about 60 or 70 years in the film industry, and it's a great cheap material, and students can use this. And the great thing about this type of stuff is it's reusable. You can melt this down, and in fact, if I wash that a little bit of soap and water, I could melt that back down and use it again. And then so I had that made, and that literally takes half an hour. You melt it down into the microwave, pour it into the mold, and it pops out. And this was the first one that came out, so it was actually a good piece to come out. And then in terms of the face piece, this is literally just tissue and latex. But the great thing about tissue and latex is I actually stippled it all over the live cast and peeled it off, but it's got this really nice kind of little organic shape that you couldn't even really sculpt. And because the Emperor's quite wrinkly, I just kind of thought, it's simple, quick and easy, and it was stuck on in probably about an hour and a half. I mean, the thing with latex is it doesn't have a great movement with other materials like gelatin or even silicone. I mean, if you look at a silicone appliance, if I was going to go to town on it and make a proper piece, it would be made in this type of material. So the thing with silicone is it's very stretchy. So if this is stuck onto the face, you'd have a lot of movement. But there just kind of really wasn't the time or the money to kind of do something like that. But plus also I knew what we needed out of the job was not something that needed this quality. So we kind of, and again, I'll say when I make stuff, I make it purely for each job. So, don't go to town and make something this expensive when the quality of the image at the very end is going to be a hologram. So that was the material. So I discarded that and used the gelatin and the latex. So, the application process took about an hour and a half. It's quite quick, and Bruce had never worn any big prosthetics. He'd had a few little bits done, but nothing of this size. It's again, he came in kind of a little bit kind of not concerned, but just kind of looking at the materials and going, oh, how long is this going to take? And I think he thought originally it was going to be 3 hours, but something like this should be an hour and a half, absolute maximum. And I kind of did a little pre-paint on it where I kind of get the colours on there to begin with, just to kind of help speed things up. and didn't worry about ball caps because obviously the Emperor's got a hooded cloak, so which is great. Again, you know, only do what you need for the movie. Don't do what you know. Don't do the whole head because it didn't matter. But yeah, we started the makeup, and within an hour and a half, he was all ready to go. And it was great. I mean, you know, Bruce was, you know, at first he was very nervous about moving his face, and he kept saying, I don't want to break it, I don't want to snap the pieces. But I kept saying to him, move as much as you want. You know, you don't have to feel restricted. And the whole thing with prosthetics is you've got to be able to, you know, show emotion through these type of pieces, which is quite hard when you've got a piece, you know, that's 1/4 of an inch thick on the forehead. But Bruce did a great job. I mean, he was, you know, also he's a true professional. He's been acting for, say, 40 years, I think. And he just kind of got on with it and did a, you know, really fantastic job with this type of makeup. And again, when you remove something like this, it takes about 20 minutes. And it's not something you can just peel off the skin. That's the one thing I think is kind of what people think, you can just walk away and peel it away. Because it's glued with a medical glue, you can't do that. And the whole point is that this has got to stay on as long as possible. My boss used to always tell me about the Jack Nicholson story when he did the Joker the very first day. When he went home, the next day he came in, he had his pillow stuck to his face. He came in with his pillow on his face. He says, you haven't got the glue off. Yeah, it was kind of, you know, very simple. And the green screen, obviously, they're going to remove that and have kind of, I think it's just obviously the hologram image with all the lines going through. So they're trying to recreate what it looked like in the Star Wars movies. But in terms of what I had to do, it was just something as a favour that Carl Whiteley had asked me. And at first I kind of said, I haven't got the time, because obviously with the school, I've just started teaching. But it just worked out that it was a weekend thing, so we shot on a Sunday. And yeah, it was kind of a simple thing to do for me. You know, it wouldn't take 4 or 5 hours because I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want Bruce in the makeup for such a long time. And it's also nice recreating the Emperor makeup because obviously I'd worked on Phantom Menace, Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, and Attack of the Clones. So it was kind of a nice kind of doing a full circle thing where we're going back 15 years later and working on a Star Wars film, but doing a comedy. And I think it's going to be shown kind of via YouTube and stuff. But the project's called The Empire. So it's, imagine it's a load of the characters from Star Wars, including Princess Leia, Han Solo, all those characters, Chewbacca, R2-D2, and they're all in an office environment, and it's basically what they do in their days off, which is great. And obviously the Emperor owns the office, so he kind of turns up. But I won't spoil it, but definitely it's worth watching. That's kind of how I came about doing this project, and I'm still hopefully be working with Carl in the future on other things. But yeah, that was my little involvement with the Empire.